Siomra beag.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sure Look, Sure Listen, the podcast that takes a pop at culture. Sure Look, Sure Listen.
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 Sure look, sure listen. Very good, Benjamin. You put a lot of emphasis on podcast there this week, which is probably good because this is the podcast which includes all of this stuff. The passing, not that tragic, but the passing of a titan of the industry, Benjamin. Also, the new costume on a very tall man, which the internet isn't very happy with. Speaking of the internet not being very happy, you've once again upset the internet, Benjamin, with your talk about Morph. And we've got casting news for the Fantastic Four. On top of all of that, would you believe, you've seen 2 episodes of Bodkin, which I have never even as much as heard of. And we've both seen the latest episode of X-Men, X-97.
Michael, if that wasn't enough, and it isn't, this week saw the presentation of the world's weirdest, most exclusive fashion show, the Met Gala. But this year, Michael,
What was
listen,
Go on.
it's all gotten a bit messy.
Oh, it's all got political, has it?
It's all gotten political. There's a whiff of class elitism off the whole thing, as there always was. However, I do believe the world's a little bit more politically, culturally, socio-economically aware these days. And it doesn't sit well with us when celebrities flaunt things. We're going to get into the bizarre theme behind this year's Met Gala. We're also going to get into the exceptional fallout of one social media star bizarre TikTok lip sync, and that leads us all nicely into the Odd Genius of J.G. Ballard, as you'll find out on the podcast.
Never heard of him, Benjamin. Speaking of Odd Genius, though, Benjamin, the not so tragic, look, we can't say it was tragic, he made it to 98, Benjamin.
98, Michael?
98 years old. That is, by anyone's standard, except future people who live to 500. But
Yeah.
by the modern standards, that's a good inning. We're talking about legendary film director, but really what he's known for is his producing. Roger Corman.
Roger bloody Corman, Michael. Fucking the original Little Shop of Horrors in 1960, Michael.
Look, Ben, you could spend a whole day reading out his list of credits as producer and director from IMDb or Wikipedia. So let's just do it very quickly. House of Usher, 1960. Last Woman on Earth, 1960. The Little Shop of Horrors, 1960. Creature from the Haunted Sea, Benjamin, 1961. The Pit and the Pendulum, 1961, Benjamin. Atlas, also 1961. 1962 now. The Premature Burial, which sounds
This is
terrifying.
nice. It's really nice.
The Intruder. It's a real day off for you. The Intruder Bed, Tales of Terror, and Tower of London, both 1962. Some of these, Benjamin, classics. Some of them I've never heard of. 1963, The Young Racers, would you believe? The Raven. Big fan of, what's his name? Poe, Edgar Allan Poe.
Big fan, Michael. Mainly because they went out of copyright during the 1960s when those were being made.
Oh, very good. 1969, Benjamin, the most comically suggestive of the years. The Sad and Target Harry.
I fear...
Yes, go on.
I could be wrong here because I don't generally have the ear of the public in that regard, but I fear this may be alienating to our audience.
That would have been a good segue for later on. Yeah, look, great innings, Benjamin. An absolute titan of the industry. For the listeners of this podcast, probably his name is most famous for being involved in the mid-90s never-released adaptation to cinema screens of the Fantastic Four.
Yes, from 1994.
An ultra low budget effort in making a Fantastic Four film where the Fantastic Four, including a surprisingly good prosthetic The Thing, team up to fight a surprisingly terrible Doctor Doom.
We're going to have to probably do an exhumed on it when the new Fantastic Four film's coming out, so stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Very good. I've already seen it. Thanks to the power of the internet, it did leak a few years ago. But yeah, lots of rumours around that swirled around that it was only ever done to retain the rights or to protect the image of the characters. But Famously, Roger Corman, you'd give him $2.5 million to make a film, he'd make it for 400,000.
Yeah, also famously Stan Lee would sell his grandmother to make an extra book. But anyway, we'll get into that another time, Uncle.
That's a whole other time. We're celebrating the life and achievements of Roger Corman, not doing our usual segment, What Has Stan Lee Done Wrong This Week, Benjamin?
Yeah, old Reggie Corbs. Good man. Anyway, Michael, come here to me.
Yeah, you're going to get in trouble. The internet's going to backlash against you calling him Reggie Corbs. If we've learned one thing this week, Benjamin, is that the internet cannot take a joke.
Well, we've never learned this lesson before. This has never happened before in the history of this fucking podcast.
No, it has. It happens all the time now. Benjamin, so look, one of the joys of becoming somewhat more notorious or notable on social media is... in the olden days, we used to just scream into the void and no one ever really reacted to what we said. But the problem with having reach these days is our reach just seems to go almost entirely under rocks to where the absolute worst of the internet is.
Oh my God, I'm in the comments fighting for my fucking life.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it. One of my favourite things, Benjamin, is when you get something ever so slightly wrong, but you do it with such confidence and then... it just gets clipped out. It gets clipped out by our shorts editor, Ben, and posted on one of our... You know, Ben, I'm trying to create an aura of there's a team behind this. It's you. You do it. And you just confidently say something slightly wrong on the internet. And Ben, when the internet comes for you on that, I have to say I'm with the internet when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're going to say something confidently wrong, then you take your licks.
My marketing principle, Michael, as you well know, is thoroughly based on an accidental form of Cunningham's Law.
Go on.
Cunningham's Law, Michael, is the quickest way to get the correct answer is to state the wrong answer and have someone step in. Yeah, that's pretty much how our marketing works. Yeah, the best way to get the right answer on the internet is not to ask a question, it's to post the wrong answer.
Yeah.
And that comes from a fella called Ward Cunningham, and it's a good fucking law. It works.
It comes from a fella called Liam Cunningham, who's a famous Dublin genre actor. Stick that in a bloody short, Ben.
But Michael, I tell you what. Fucking people aren't nice in these comments.
Some of them are. Most of them are fine, Benjamin. But the great thing that's happened this week is one of our hot takes on Morph, Ben. The most confusing, I wouldn't say the most inconsistent character in the new X-Men 97 show, but definitely one of them.
Yeah, definitely one of them.
One of our hot takes on his inconsistency has just been people having a go at us for not understanding his powers. Because they're not understandable, Ben.
Michael.
What?
How dare you tell us what's correct on a character that has no defined power set whatsoever within the context of a show?
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants, Benjamin. This is gas. So you particularly, people seem to take an issue more with you than me. I think it's because of my soothing voice.
It's my grating tone, Michael.
Yeah. But this week, Benjamin, it's the people who are coming out of the woodwork. There's so many people up in our comments who are utterly convinced that they know how Morph's powers work. Based on nothing, Ben.
Michael,
based on no evidence.
Fucking nothing, Michael.
But look, most of them, hold on a second though, most of them are nice enough. Look at this asshole. There's a real son of a bitch here, Ben. And most of them are nice enough. It's fair enough to go, actually, Morph can only copy people's physical powers and only 10% of them. I would ask you then, Mr. Bloody BT. No, he wrote a nice one, actually. Mr. Lolo Italiano. Then how does he copy swords?
Yeah, how does he fucking do that?
How did he copy Magic's magic sword in that episode?
Tell us more. How did he copy the special effect that Magic uses for her sword?
Yeah, how did he do that? Benjamin, look at this person. Look at this absolute disaster of a comment from Real Giro Sapelli. Oh no, someone didn't do their research and they started yapping anyways. Benjamin, we did loads of research.
Michael, tons of it.
Absolute tons of it. Oh look, hold on. This person has written back, Ben. Ben, that's it. We need a response to this person this instant.
All right, what are we going to say, Michael?
Look, he said, as many people have already written comments, he can only copy physical attributes and can only copy 10% of their power. For one thing, Benjamin, this person has written he loads of times and more famously isn't a he these days.
Now, Michael, we were corrected on that in the comments. However, since that man said that as loads of people have already written, he's clearly cherry picking. So here's what I'm going to fucking say to that. Right?
Get him now, Ben. Get him this instant.
Fucking fucked, you son of a bitch. Hang on. What did he write? Oh, no. Someone didn't. What are you on about?
Someone didn't do their reresearch, Ben.
Yeah, here we go. Here's a fucking answer for you. Oh, no. Someone didn't do their research and they started yapping anyways. Morph actually uses they, them pronouns. There you go.
Yes. Get him, Ben. Anyway, we've reduced ourselves to the level of internet pettiness there quite nicely.
Yeah, no, we're done now, Michael. That's it. That's the end of it now.
That's the end of the podcast.
Speaking of internet pettiness, Michael.
Yes.
Do you think listeners enjoy it? If you do, try giving us a review wherever you listen. It could be on Spotify, it could be on Apple Podcasts, or give us a follow on Instagram so you can follow up with our pettiness in real time, or TikTok, if that's the kind of thing you're into.
Benjamin, my only concern now is that we've responded to the worst comments and read them out on the internet. So have we now just inadvertently encouraged people to write mean comments?
Look, apparently they're going to do it anyway, Michael. All I did was read through comments that said, actually, Juggernaut's powers are magical. We know. That's why we said it in the reel.
That's why we said it. Benjamin, speaking of the internet not really taking a considered approach to things, people aren't very happy with the first images of David Corenswet as Kal-El.
Now, Michael, there's a few ways of looking at this, right? I'm going to share it with you because I think it's a fucking odd image, right? I think it bears looking.
Mental. It's mental. It's a mental image. Is his name David Corenswet? Have I made that up, or is that his
No,
real
I think
name?
his name is David Corenswet. But anyway,
Okay.
come here to me, Michael. This is fucking bizarre, right?
Okay, go on.
Because it's a strange direction. If we were to ask you to describe the big blue Boy Scout, you might hear phrases like American. You might hear phrases like all American.
Oh yeah, go on.
You might hear phrases like big, muscular, strong, proud, tall, statuesque, blue. You know, any of those. What you probably wouldn't hear is measured in his putting on of boots.
He looks a bit sad.
Michael,
He looks a bit sad, like his boots might be too tight.
This
I
is
got the wrong size boots.
This is the strangest David Corensweet walking past the old set of the CW Arrowverse, and James Gunn going, go on, jump in there and I'll get a picture on my iPhone.
Mental. What's the big eyeball in the background? Is that Brainiac?
So this is a catastrophe that's happening somewhere in Metropolis, assumedly, right?
Yeah, go
now,
on.
this was posted by James Gunn early last week, unfortunately, right after we recorded the podcast, as is our life.
Because of James Gunn's personal grudge against us.
And he said, this amazing image came straight out of camera from our photographer X, Y, and Z. Now, Michael, there's nothing about this image that is amazing. It's fine.
Is it?
Let me be the first to say, Michael, it's fine. It's just the stupidest Superman pose you could possibly pick to launch your brand new Superman. They have Superman sitting in what looks to be the world's most uncomfortable chair.
Normal chair. Just a normal chair, not any sort of super chair.
No super chair. There's a catastrophe happening in the background.
Maybe you should do something about that, Superman.
You know, with your exponential speed. And he's pulling on, Michael, a booty.
A little booty, Benjamin. His whole ensemble is a bit kind of leather biker Superman.
Now, Michael, the stranger thing about this is that the top half of his leather biker Superman costume seems to be battle damaged. And the bottom half isn't. What did he do, Michael, in between getting battle damaged and putting on his booties?
Maybe the top of him went on fire.
Maybe the top of him went on fire. That's actually a very reasonable response, Michael.
Yeah. Maybe he got hit by a laser on the top half.
This has really tickled the bollocks of the alpha sigma male population of America.
Oh, go on.
And the top comment isn't, this is a bit of a boring image. The top comment isn't, this doesn't really tell much of a narrative. The top comment isn't, this isn't really the best representation of what Superman is or does. The top comment is, my God, that man's putting on them boots mighty feminine.
I haven't seen that. Is he putting on his boots in a feminine manner? How do men put... Should he be standing up and hopping around awkwardly as he tries to kick his heel in?
Michael, what the fuck is the butch way to put on a pair of booties?
Yeah, you stand up and you just jump into them both at the same time.
You let your stomach roll over your belt buckle and you heavy breathe for a few minutes while you haul your fucking boots on and go, God fucking damn it. I love these United States, fucking goddamn.
Benjamin,
You pull your boots on. Yes.
There's no way this came straight out of camera because there's a big giant glowing eyeball in the background and that's not real, most likely.
What a weird fucking lie for James Gunn to write. Michael, this is one of the most edited images I've ever seen.
I don't know. Maybe it is straight out of camera. Maybe that's going on in the background as some sort of volume type situation.
Okay, look, it could be those weird panels that we fucking are doing all our special effects on now, Michael.
Yeah,
but you're not telling me, Michael, that this image isn't fucking doctored.
No, straight out of camera, Ben.
No, fuck off.
He's a big fella, isn't he?
He's a big
fella.
man. It's a shame they didn't pose him in a stature that showed off his physique.
Yeah. Maybe he's not ripped yet.
Fucking bizarre. Michael, it doesn't matter under a suit like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's the relief of fat guys everywhere.
Yeah. That's why I wear costumes like that to Comic-Con, Michael.
Yeah, that's why Ben always goes around in biker leathers 24/7.
No one can tell, apart from the girth.
Yeah. Anyway, look, sure it'll be fine. Nothing but confidence.
Look, it's all going to go great.
Ben, I can't see what's next in the running order. What are we talking about next?
Oh, that's fair. So, Michael, that leads us on to another ill-fated thing. Speaking of 1994's failed X-Men spin-off.
What?
We got another bit of casting news this week, Michael.
What are you talking about?
We were talking about Roger Corman at the top of the episode, so I just thought I'd do a very late throwback there, Michael.
Yeah, but how is it a failed X-Men spin-off?
Did I say X-Men? I meant Fantastic Four.
Oh, you meant Fantastic. Anyway, Benjamin, look, we got casting news for the Fantastic Four. First of all, your favourite and mine, Benjamin, John Malkovich is in it as some undisclosed character.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Silver Surfer? That's what I want.
Silver Surfer has already been cast. Silver Surfer is a lady.
What?
Silver Surfer is a lady in this.
Who's she going to be?
Not Norrin Rad, that's Silver Surfer.
Noreen Rad, the Irish
Noreen.
cosmic warrior.
Radical Noreen, as she's also known.
She's mad Fenian. She's mad. Yeah. Give up your old empire there, or Galactus will fuck you up.
She's also rad in the 90s sense, so she's a Silver Surfer, but she's on a skateboard.
My Lord Galactus will tear you a new one in the name of our Celtic forefathers.
Yeah, she's also a Christian radical. We've covered every form of radical there. Yeah. Julia Garner is playing Silver Surfer in it.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, did we not talk about this a few weeks ago? I thought we did. Maybe we missed it.
It's never come up.
We missed out.
Look at her. Look at her there
Shia
now.
LaBelle, is that her name?
You know, Julia Garner, you got it.
Yeah, that's the actress, but the character is Shia LaBelle, I think.
Oh, I think the big fucking pissing in the cornflakes of this, Michael, is it turns out it's on an alternate timeline.
Yeah, it's on an alternate timeline in a different universe, and maybe it'll merge together in the end. But sure, look, we don't know who John Malkovich is playing. I'm hoping he's going to play Hans Moleman.
That'd be fun. I'd watch that.
Yeah. Now, Benjamin, the people in the shorts are going to already... The pitchforks are going to be out, but I know, because that was a joke, that Hans Moleman is a Simpsons character and not the king of the underground monsters that lives in the Fantastic Four universe.
Also known as the Mole Man.
Hans Moleman.
Yeah.
Let's just double down on this. So I hope Malkovich is playing the Mole Man. That's my wish.
That's my great wish, Michael. Who would you pick to play, I don't know, the almighty cosmic world eater, Galactus?
I suppose people would generally say Lawrence Fishburne.
He's already in it, though, isn't he? Is Lawrence Fishburne in the MCU?
Yes, he is. He plays Bill Paxton. He plays, oh Christ,
noted actor Bill Paxton.
The other giant man. What's his name? Bill something.
Old Billy Big Balls.
Oh, Goliath. What's his name? Doesn't matter. Also, he also played Silver Surfer.
He plays Hank Pym's other fucking half.
Yeah, Bill something. Goliath.
Bill.
Doesn't matter. He also played the Fantastic Four. He was in the last Fantastic Four. Not the last one, the one before that, as the Silver Surfer. He was the voice of the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. But you know who I'd get to play Galactus, Benjamin, if I had the opportunity to choose who would play Galactus?
Go on.
I would choose Chris Finch from The Office.
Oh, I don't know who that is, Michael. I'm going to have a little look now.
It's Ralph Ineson, Ben. It was his first role.
Ah, very good. You got me. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Not his first role, but the role that kind of started his path to fame.
Ah, Michael, what an interesting choice.
Yeah, that's who I would pick.
That's probably good news for this week, Michael, because that's who we're getting.
Good. Benjamin, you would probably remember him most as the Green Knight.
I do, Michael. It turns out he's very good in a set of prosthetics and quite menacing. So who fucking knows? Could do a great job.
Yeah, look, the only thing that this doesn't tell us is what's Galactus going to be up to. Is Galactus going to be the main baddie? Is Galactus going to be like Thanos in the Avengers movies, the first couple, where he was a mostly off-screen threat? Is this first half of this movie going to deal with them dealing with Galactus in a flashback and say, oh, remember that time we dealt with Galactus? We know nothing. The fact that Ralph Ineson isn't a huge name, I think, is encouraging.
Yeah, look, no stunt casting, Michael.
Yeah, it feels like they're casting this for the voice and the performance rather than the name, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, I'm all for it, Michael. Gimme some decent, solid fucking acting.
Bit of acting, a bit of a throwback. You know what I think was the flipping tipping point in Marvel movies for stunt casting? Now, you could argue Robert Downey Jr., but I don't think so, because Robert Downey Jr. was at the nadir of his career when he was cast as Iron Man.
Yeah, it was his salvation.
The fact that he has become super famous again on the back of it, bully for him. I think the turning point in Marvel when they went, let's start stunt casting, was Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange.
Yeah, shit.
I don't dislike the casting, actually. I think he's pretty good.
Nah.
But I think they learned the wrong lesson from it. And post that, you're much more likely to get a celebrity than the right person.
Yeah, all right. Look, Michael, that's about as nice as you could be about it.
Yeah. Before that, they were all B-listers and no names, basically.
Yeah.
And then, for some reason, we got Angelina Jolie in a supporting role in the Eternals.
Oh, very strange.
Very strange. We got Harold Styles. Remember him? Remember
Yeah.
he was in it?
He was in it there as the sexy pheromone spreader.
Stunt casting extraordinaire. Yeah. I have the stars, the Fantastic Four stars, still to me worry me a little bit that they're a bit flavour of the monthy. Especially Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal is fantastic, you take it back.
He is fantastic, but I don't think he ever would have entered the conversation for who's the perfect Reed Richards 10 years ago before he became super famous.
Not a chance in goddamn hell.
Yeah, exactly. But Ralph Ineson, I think, is great because no one has ever even suggested it.
Nope, it's never even popped up in one of those weird slideshows that people make on Tumblr.
Yeah, and he has a great, deep, gravelly voice, and I hope that Galactus is from Space Yorkshire.
Space Yorkshire. I'm here to eat your planet.
It's like a tasty pasty.
Surrender planet now, or I send Surfer down. Don't want that.
Fucking great stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, Benjamin, what's Bodkin?
Michael, what's the most annoying thing you can do?
Post comments on our TikTok.
No, you can start a podcast, Michael.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's true.
What's literally the worst form of podcasting?
Two men talking about pop culture.
It's actually not. What's the most predatory form of podcasting?
Two women talking about murders.
Yeah, it's a true crime podcast, Michael. We didn't even set that up, ladies and gentlemen. He actually just got that.
That was natural.
That's fucking great. But compared to
Benjamin.
Michael, yeah.
I've just got a handful of stones here from this glass house.
Yeah, this will be the one. This will be the one that undoes us, Michael. Michael, I've watched the first 2 episodes of Netflix's new show Bodkin that just came out this very week. Now, Michael, this is bizarre. It's about an American podcaster played by Will Forte.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and he's coming over to this Ireland from that America.
Oh, it's an Irishman's boss.
Yeah,
fabulous.
Yeah,
I'm very excited now.
And he's investigating, Michael, a mysterious disappearance around the Festival of Sound.
Oh yeah, Sam Hain.
Sam Hain, as he calls it. Sam
Does
Hain. It's done intentionally for laughs.
Good.
You're getting a sense of the tone here, Michael. So he's sent over anyway to investigate this because he needs to basically make another hit in his podcast, because seasons 2 and 3 of his true crime podcast, as with all true crime podcasts, Michael, weren't as good as the first one, because the first one is inherently predatory with no great outline, and then after that it's pretty much playing the hits, that is traumatizing the families and survivors of real life crimes and horrific events.
Yeah, for your own profit. I fucking hate true crime podcasts.
I fucking hate true crime podcasts, Michael.
Get out of
And that's very much what's being played with here.
Oh, go on.
The tone is, I suppose it's wedging itself. If you were to take a spectrum, Michael, of dark Irish comedies.
Okay, go on.
On one end of it is Banshees of Inisherin, right?
Okay, yeah, The Guard.
The Guard. The Guard would be a good middle ground, I think, between a very modern Ireland meets a very grim Ireland meets a very dark bit of humour. So there's our middle. So we've got our end and our middle.
Okay.
And then over the other side of that is Kilmascully.
Is that the one with Pat Short?
Yeah.
Oh, he's great, isn't he?
He's in this.
Is he in it?
He's in everything Irish, Michael. You can't make anything on the island without Pat getting a cut.
That's true, actually.
Those are the rules. Those are the rules. But come here to me. This is bizarre. So what happens is he needs a guide on the island. There's an Irish woman played by Siobhan Cullen who's a bit of an up-and-comer here in the TV scene. She was in Obituary there, which you can see on Netflix, which is about a young woman who writes obituaries for a small Irish newspaper, but is actually a serial killer and starts making the obituaries happen. Yeah, anyway, give that a watch. It's fucking great. But Siobhan Cullen's in it, and she plays the jaded Irish woman who moved away from this island for a reason.
Oh, she wanted to get out of here, did she?
She wanted to get out of this backwards island town.
Bloody housing crisis, Benjamin, probably.
Oh, fucking Michael, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not looking at emigrating to that Australia. But come here.
Get on the boat, Ben. You won't be missed.
You won't? Oh, fuck. That's the end of this podcast because that was devastating.
No, it's grand. We could still do the podcast.
Come here to me. She is roped in because her source for the Guardian newspaper, for the big article, the whistleblowing article she was working on, killed himself. And she has to lie low now. So she's been roped into doing this, Michael, and she has to take this chipper American twat around with her English producer, played by Robin Cara, and they're going all around the island trying to figure out what happened during Sound with the 3 mysterious disappearances. Now, Michael, this is the most conflicted I've ever been about a piece of Irish media. Because on the one hand, it does a great job of playing with the stereotypes of how the Irish are perceived by Americans.
Yes, go on.
Whilst deconstructing them.
No, deconstructing Americans.
No, the stereotypes.
No,
that's For illegal. Example, they are interviewing a guard who worked at the time.
Brendan Gleeson.
And it might as well be. He begins drinking during the interview. And I went, oh, for fuck's sake. Are we ever going to get away from this fucking morning nip of whiskey to get you fucking set up for the day, right? And it turns out he ends up scundered, Michael. Ossified, as the gang would say. And the American podcaster has to put him to bed and say, Jesus Christ, this island. And it turns out, Michael, the whole time that your man was putting on a ruse so he could get them out of the house and warn his mates that they're doing an investigation into the mysterious disappearances.
Oh, very clever. They're using their own stereotypes, Benjamin, to their advantage.
You see, right? But then, Michael, other times there'll be a touched and simple man who stands up in the middle of a packed bar after a rake of pints and he sings a beautiful Shanno song that brings the bar to a standstill. And I was waiting for the other boot to drop and for them to deconstruct it by having the lads at the back of the bar take the piss out of him. But it doesn't happen. They're all there in deep reverence for this simple man who sings a beautiful song.
Benjamin, that is what happens in pubs. Obviously, you haven't been to enough pubs in the West.
Anyway, it never quite delivers on what it's hoping to do. Now, it's fairly by the book in terms of plot. You can guess what's happening. They go to unravel one mystery. They pull on the thread. It turns out that, rural Ireland is actually much darker than we give it credit for, etc. But, Michael, do you know what fucking threw me the most?
Go on.
I was watching the opening credits. The fucking Obamas produced this.
Barack and Michelle Obama.
Barack and Michelle Obama. This is Barack and Michelle Obama's first foray into producing television.
Barack and Michelle Obama, famously the owners of Obama Plaza.
Yeah.
Barack Obama Plaza on the M4.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love Ireland.
They love Ireland, Michael, but it's a very tough show to watch. Now, I did some looking up after this, and the Irish Times fucking slate it. They're like, this is paddywhackery, this is fucking disgraceful, it's paddy washing, it's awful. And it isn't. And I think what's probably annoying people is they do sometimes get the tone incredibly well for the type of person you'll meet in a western rural town.
Go on.
In that, you know, there are people that'll have an odd chat with you about their favourite cow or, you know, a local legend that makes people a bit uncomfortable or something of the such. I think for someone in the Irish Times, first of all, Donald Clark, absolute fucking useless reviewer of things.
This fucker again.
Donald fucking Clark. But anyway, look, it's an interesting one. I'm only 2 episodes in. I'll update you next week if I watch any more of it. It's pretty... It's just very torn, Michael. Very torn.
Asher, look, Benjamin, luckily there's one thing that is just getting consistently excellent reviews, and that is the latest episode of X-Men 97.
Nom, 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 nom.
Benjamin, big things happen in this episode.
Oh, fucking hell, Michael. So things.
A lot going on, a lot of bloody twists and turns. I've loved the pace of this show. It's great. Anytime someone asks me, where is this show leading? It's just fucking watch an episode, for God's sake.
You can't predict, Michael.
Don't worry about where it's going, because it's always going. All the places it's already been is where it's going.
Such energy, Michael.
The absolute. And it, in that sense, very loyal to the original show, which would cover massive, famous plot arcs from the comic books in an episode or two. And it's doing that.
An episode or two. In the blink of an eye sometimes, Michael.
In the blink of an eye. So anyway, Nito's back. He's grand.
He's grand. He's been doing grand. He's been doing good stuff, yeah.
Everyone's a bit upset at him.
Yeah, look, he committed an egregious act of violence. One of my favourite things about this, Michael, because you brought it up last week, is are they going to touch on the damage he has done from letting off a giant EMP across the planet? And the answer to that is yes, they are.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's fucking decimated the planet.
Scott Cyclops says, thousands of people have died, Eric. His name's not Eric in this, his name's Magnus. Thousands of people have died. And my first instinct was, thousands? Is that all? Not millions? But then again, Benjamin, it is set in the mid-90s. You know, an EMP wouldn't turn off planes in the mid-90s, I don't think. Like it would now. I don't know. It'd fuck up your Tesla Cybertruck, but that would probably be doing you a favour. But would it fuck up your Ford Explorer in 1996? I don't think so. So I don't think you'd get cars crashing off roads and stuff like you would these days. 97 is a good long while ago.
It is.
So anyway, it's still probably no use. And he still defends it by saying, yeah, but more mutants died and whatnot, so I don't care.
Look, Michael, I think fundamentally one of my favourite things about this is some of the sick burns that Magnus unleashes on Professor X.
Professor X, the bald, useless dweeb. I don't like Professor
dweeb.
X, Ben. He's an absolute dweeb. He pissed off to get the ride, and now he's shown back up fucking pontificating to people.
You abandoned your species to be with your bird woman. That's just like, that's it, Magnus. You fucking stick it to that race traitor. You fucking stick it to him.
There from Magnus, good man.
Yeah, I one of my favourite things, Michael, is that Rogue is really written consistently here. She's, no, I lost the love of my life. I'm on a rampage. I'm going to join Magnus. I think I'm just going to go hang out with Magnus and
I'm going back
do
to
that.
The Zaddy. We're going to go into
Zaddy
space
Magnus.
together.
Big Zaddy Magnus. And the weirdest turn is Roberto going off with him. It's just, what?
I'll go too, because my mom was so mean.
Shut up,
yeah,
Roberto.
me and Rogue, we understand. We had the same
up,
situation.
Roberto. And then he has the greatest fucking annoying turn where first of all, he hits the woman. And in the most snivelly, domestic abusey, covery, uppery way, he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, God, I didn't mean to. I just lost my temper." You did, though. You hit her, didn't you, Roberto?
Yeah, on purpose.
Didn't you,
Roberto,
little shit?
You little absolute bag of shite, you. Benjamin, I was watching this episode, and I tell you what they did that was stupid. What? Now, they were beholden to do this because they wanted the thing to happen.
What thing now? Hang on.
They wanted the famous thing to happen, the thing at the end, which we'll get.
Oh, yeah, we get into it.
But teams that they sent were exactly the wrong teams to send on the 2 missions.
Worst strategic planning ever.
Absolute dumbassery. They sent Metal Skeleton Man into space to fight Magnet Man. And
Why
they
would
sent
you do that?
Why would you do that, first of all? And then they sent the family of kidnapped victims who have been traumatized by Mr. Sinister, who still look shockingly like you with white face paint. They sent them to the place where Mr. Sinister was more likely to show up. What terrible planning.
Yeah, just fucking awful stuff.
Just terrible planning.
Why would you send the PTSD person
Yeah.
to the source of their PTSD? Why would you do that?
Yeah, like we all know that Mr. Sinister has some degree of control over Jean and Cable. Don't send them to get him. Send them into space. Jean can take Magnet's helmet off with her powers.
In a fucking heartbeat.
In a heartbeat, Ben. In a flippin' heartbeat. Send bloody Nightcrawler to Mr. Sinister. They've never even heard of each other. Mr. Sinister will be all creepy teleporting about the place. And Nightcrawler will be like, for me, this is Tuesday.
Yeah, and what?
Yeah, and so what? You're teleporting around the place and being ein creep? Das ist my thing.
You don't even have any brimstone or smoky smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, so silly. You're a little silly man.
I've had men like you in Berghain in the Berlin.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You're not so
Anyway,
strange to me.
Morph got to be not useless, though.
Did he?
He smashed everybody up, turned into the Hulk.
Michael, he only did that because Jean Grey augments his fucking powers.
Yeah, so this is what I was going to say. First of all, Benjamin, you got a lot of stick last week for saying he in relation to Morph. And
They.
this is actually the first episode where a character says they in relation to
Yes.
Morph. So I know the producers and writers refer to Morph as they. But in this episode, a character does. But anyway, Morph becomes the Hulk. The Hulk just gets chucked around by Jean's telekinetic powers. I don't know if it mattered that Morph was the Hulk as much as, could Jean have just done that with anyone? Could she have picked Cable up and spun him around and smashed Sentinels?
I don't think Jean had to do that. If she can augment a ball of mass to do it, she can just do it without the ball of mass. There's no need for there to be any. If she can just create a telekinetic construct and spin it around,
Yeah.
because that's what she did. It's just the contents are irrelevant.
Yeah, it could have just been bricks.
She could have just done that. Just do
Yeah,
that.
just big lot of bricks. Anyway,
The
Go
other
on.
fun sliding scale I found this week is Beast can cut through a sentinel.
apparently.
Apparently.
He cut a Sentinel's arm off with his fingernails.
For a quip.
The power scaling in this is very inconsistent, Benjamin. But then, look, that's all neither here nor there, because the big thing happened.
Yes.
And the big thing happened, and every 90s Children of the Atom nerd went, oh, this is where we're going.
They did the big thing.
So they did the thing. They did the big thing, which is from the comics X-Men 25.
In 1997.
1997, X-Men 25. What's the arc called again?
That's where you have me now. I did so
I've
much.
forgotten.
Fatal Attractions.
Yes. The famous, super famous scene, one of the most famous scenes from the X-Men comic in the 90s, where Wolverine does a big old stab on Magnus, or
Gets him.
Eric, or whatever you call them. He runs him through and says, I've had enough of you. And Eric finally loses it and goes, no, that's it. No more Metal Skeletons men for you. And he removes Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. Iconic development in the history of Wolverine's character.
Huge moment.
Huge moment. Shocking moment when it happened in 1997, Ben. People were stunned.
Earth-shattering, Michael.
And they pretty much recreated the comic panel in this, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, not a bother, Michael. It's a very close image to what we originally got in the comic. It's pretty solid. And again, marks this out as not your dad's X-Men 92.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
No, because your dad wasn't watching this. You were watching this in 1992.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Because that's who this is aimed at. This is
That's who
aimed at
this is aimed
those
at,
same
yeah.
people. So anyway, Ben, Sure enough, when Wolverine gets his adamantium skeleton removed in the comics, he goes through a couple of years of having bone claws, and his healing factor gets heightened because it turns out that his healing factor was being impaired because it was constantly fighting a battle against the adamantium.
Heavy
and his
metal
senses
poisoning.
and his senses get improved. His nose falls off at one stage. He
He turns more primal, doesn't he? He goes feral.
feral Wolverine, yeah. Bone claw feral Wolverine. And that lasts a long time in the world of comics.
Yeah.
6 or 7 years nearly.
That's a long time.
I don't think this happened in 97. I think this happened in 93, Ben.
No, 1997 is when he has it removed.
You sure?
No, you're going to make a fool of me now. You're right, yeah. 1993.
1993, yeah. I thought it was. You see, I do my research before I start yapping.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I started yapping, Michael.
Yeah.
I started yapping.
This has been my favourite episode we've done in a long time. But anyway, yeah.
I'm having fun. I am.
He doesn't get it back for 6 or 7 years in comic book time, which is huge in comic book time.
Eons.
But look, that's not why 90s comic book Children of the Atom fans went, oh. Because for most people, Magneto removing Wolverine's skeleton is the first step on one of the most divisive X-Men storylines in comic book history. One of the most divisive storylines in comic book history. It's the first step in what has become retroactively known as the Onslaught Saga.
Oh, man.
And any X-Men, 1990s X-Men fan saw that happen and went, oh, is that where we're going? And it's hard to tell, is it? Because we've been getting hints all season that we might be going towards Age of Apocalypse.
Yep.
We've got Cable knocking about. We've got Sinister. We've got Madeline Pryor. We've got time travelers bopping around the place. An Age of Apocalypse doesn't feel like it's off the cards. And canonically, as if such a thing exists, Age of Apocalypse happens first.
Yeah.
And then the Onslaught Saga. And it feels like maybe that might be where we're going. And we might be getting like a 3-parter Onslaught Saga as the start of the next season. Maybe.
Very interesting if that's the case.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to particularly get into who is Onslaught, Ben, on this episode. We might. If it turns out to be more relevant, we might come back and maybe do an exhumed on those comic books. Because I reread them recently and they're fucking terrible. But
if we
it's an
find out,
interesting time.
We'll find out what's happening first of all, and then we'll probably do a little, because it's worth having a look at, because it really is horrendous. It really is one of the worst eras of comic booking that we've seen in quite a while, Michael, and probably therefore worth a good old-fashioned look-see from us.
Really, really interesting time in comic books. Not the birth of the multi and like an entire company crossover and reboot, but it was comparable in a lot of ways. I think comparable in a lot of ways to Crisis on Infinite Earths from DC.
Yeah.
More comparable to that than, say, Secret Wars was, the original. Secret Wars was the thing that just happened and everything went back to normal. The Onslaught Saga was a way for Marvel to attempt to re-establish a new status quo. And anytime you're doing that, you have to make some decisions and upset some people.
Yeah. Look, I'm all for upsetting people, Michael. It's really what I live for.
Very good. You know who else is all for upsetting people, Ben?
Who, Michael?
The celebrities at the Met Gala.
Rich people, Michael. All about upsetting people.
Fucking put them in the bin, Ben.
They can't have a good time without upsetting the folks. Look, it's a whole thing, Michael. The Met Gala happened last Monday, Michael. Time of recording for us, but, you know, we don't really normally pay attention to this kind of thing, Michael. But the reason that it's on the running order this week, and the reason that it's pretty much one of the primary focuses of this episode, is because it's had a fascinating fallout.
Go on.
First of all, it's important to understand a few things about the Met Gala. Number one, what I found out this week was, while researching this, is it costs $75,000 to attend the Met Gala.
That's a lot of money.
That's a fuck ton of money, Michael.
Go on.
So it costs $75,000 to attend. Second of all, it's almost completely decided guest list-wise by Vogue's editor Anna Wintour.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's a fundraising thing for the fashion wing of the Met Museum, isn't it?
Yes. So what happens is, first of all, you must be chosen to go.
Oh.
Then you must pay
Yes.
$75,000 to go.
That feels like a lot. What's that in real money?
In hours.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now. I wasn't
No.
expecting to have to do currency calculations today, but that's fine.
It's close enough. It's about the same.
No, I'm going to do it properly now, Michael. You put me on the spot.
Benjamin.
So we're just going to take some
It's-
time.
It is
Euro.
the most suggestive cost to attend a ball you can possibly imagine. €69,000.
Yeah, the other thing that I never understood, I always thought it was just mental people wearing mental clothes at a mental event. But no, it has a theme every year, Michael.
Oh, what's the theme?
And they change the theme depending on what you're doing. So there were two themes present at this year's Met Gala, which is very strange. One was Sleeping Beauty.
What this year?
Yeah. So I thought that was what it was going to be. It was called Sleeping Beauties. That was the name of it. And that was the one that inspired the art. It was to do with reawakening nature, Michael. So that's the interpretation. Sleeping Beauties, reawakening natures. And that's why there's so many flowers and nature motifs and trees and things like that going through the fashion of what we're looking at.
Oh, very good. So everyone's wearing big elaborate costumes, are they?
But then, Michael, the event itself had a separate inspiration.
Oh.
And this year's inspiration is fucking bizarre. This year's
Go on.
inspiration was the 1962 short story by J.G. Ballard called The Garden of Time.
Who's J.G. Ballard?
J.G. Ballard is James Graham Ballard, Michael. He's a novelist, an English novelist and short story writer from England from the 1950s onwards. He's quite an interesting man. He would be to English speculative fiction what Asimov is to American speculative fiction.
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
He's
Big praise.
is one of the top-notch British sci-fi writers.
Yeah, but
And-
that's British sci-fi writers. They all just, in the future, we might not even have cups of tea.
Oh my God! Save the Queen. But come here. Interesting. I didn't understand what that meant, Michael, until it was pointed out in a video. And it turns out that The Garden of Time is a fascinating short story. And it centers around a very wealthy elite couple that are staying in a huge villa on the hill, right?
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, so it's a count and his countess. And this was written as part of a collection in 1962, and it's around the Count Axel. That's all we get. We don't get any additional information other than that. That's what he's called. And every day he takes part in a leisurely stroll down to his garden in the villa.
Oh, go on.
But there's something rather unusual about this, Michael. His garden is filled with tiny crystalline flowers of various shapes and sizes. They are described almost as roses in the text.
Go on. I'd like to hear more.
And what happens is he picks a flower an evening. He returns to his lady love in the villa. And then he crushes the flower in his hands and reverses time. He resets time in the villa each evening.
Oh, they could stay there forever then.
Yeah, except that one of the major themes of this, as with much of J.G. Ballard's work, is nature is not infinite in the way that we conceive it to be. Now, this is a very radical thought for the 1960s, Michael. This was before climate change was a daily conversation. This was before the looming spectre of ecological collapse was a 6 o'clock news bulletin every goddamn evening. This was before any of that was the thing, but the central theme of it is time will run out and so will nature's resources. Because every time he picks a flower, the only thing that doesn't replenish when he resets time is naturally the garden.
Ah, the flowers don't reset, so you got a limited supply.
Yeah. Now, some of us would think, okay, maybe he's trying to live forever, maybe he's trying to do this, maybe he's trying to do that, but we discover, Michael, through some really deft storytelling on J.G. Ballard's part, that there is an approaching onslaught of humanity coming to his gate.
Oh.
And the heavy implication is that when they reach the gate, Michael, they're going to tear the rich couple limb from limb.
Oh, good.
He tells this, Michael, in a fabulous slow drip mounting of tension. It's a spectacular story. I read it specifically for this week. It's done beautifully well. But the central premise is the enemy is at the gate. The enemy is the worker. They're going to end us. Look out.
Here comes the proletariat.
Now, Michael, Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue, sets the theme each year. And this is the cheekiest fuck you to ordinary people I've ever come across.
Well,
because
she was the inspiration for the character of The Devil Wears Prada.
I know, I'm just amazed at the chutzpah.
The absolute chutzpah. Okay, go on.
Because the Met Gala is an opulent affair of wealth waving. To give you an example of that, this year, Michael, there was a purse at the Met Gala, and inside the purse was a golden rose set with an incredible amount of diamonds, right?
Go on.
Now, there's nothing so unusual about a purse, Michael, except this one was made out of solid ice.
Solid ice?
Solid ice, Michael, right?
Is there another form of ice?
Yeah, all right, fair enough. It was made out of a block of ice, you shitbag.
Go on.
You got me good, though. Well done.
No, not necessarily. Is slush ice? Let's not argue the semantics too much. Get on with it!
Anyway, this was brought to the Met Gala by Camila Cabello, who is the singer of Havana Una.
Yeah, she's
right?
the one from Fifth Harmony that didn't get on with the others.
Maybe. I don't know. You're actually a mile ahead of me there. I don't know if that's what it is. I couldn't possibly say. But anyway, this thing was designed to melt, Michael. The estimated cost of that purse to make, from carats gold and the special German water they froze the block out of,
Yes, I love
was
it.
in the region
Yes,
of
special German water.
was in the region of $30,000.
Oh, that's too much, I'd argue. You could spend that on, feeding starving children, maybe.
It originally had a strap on it, Michael. The strap melted within the first 5 minutes of the gala, and Camila
yeah.
Cabello carried it around in her frostbitten fingers like a dope.
You've always hated Camila Cabello, though, because you hate the way she broke up Fifth Harmony.
I know, it really broke my heart, Michael. How are you supposed to have a harmony when it's only four of them? Fourth harmony. Ugh.
Fourth Harmony. Gross.
But come here to me. This is all fine, Michael. This opulent display of wealth is a slap in the face of anyone who ever has to work a 9 to 5 or anything like that. And fair enough. Look, we get it every year. We kind of always write it off, Michael, as, look, it's just celebrities being celebrities. It's a nice occasion. It raises money for the Met, yada, yada, right? But this year, Michael, something bizarre happened. Because the fashion was so unusual, and because the elitism on display was so blatant, a series of comments began to make their way underneath the videos posted online, and it was, "Hello from the 12th District."
Hey, it's the Hunger Games, Ben.
It's the Hunger Games. Because, in fairness, everybody that attended the Met Gala and kept to the theme looked like something extra out of the Hunger Games. It was fucking bizarre.
Zendaya, particularly,
Ridiculous.
looked like she might as well have been Effie Longbottom or whatever the hell that woman's name is.
Ridiculous, Michael. And what we saw in this, it really just rubbed people the wrong way this year. I suppose because of the events that are happening in Gaza, the genocide being perpetrated against the Palestinian people, the absolute crisis the world seems to be in, to be ignored by this horde of wealthy fucking layabouts for all intents and purposes.
Now, Benjamin, I would argue that there have been genocides going on for years. Not to reduce the importance of this genocide, but this is a social media genocide.
That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a both sides on this, obviously, because I think what the state of Israel and the IDF are doing in Gaza is absolutely despicable.
Yeah,
But
all my homies hate the IDF.
just terrible, shocking crimes against humanity. But it's interesting that the people on this side of it, the kind of, this is a disgusting show of wealth, there's been genocides going on as long as there have been humans. It's just, for some reason, this is the one that you feel. There are other genocides happening at the moment.
For example, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Yeah, and look, Ireland has a lot to, I don't want to say answer for in this, but Ireland is one of the loudest voices in the international community shouting its support for Palestine. And Ireland, just like most Irish people, for its size, has a disproportionately loud voice. You know, that was a dig at you, by the way. I don't know if you picked up on it.
I have a disproportionately loud voice.
Yeah. Ben's actually tiny. He's the size of a shoe.
I'm 6 inches on a good day with heel.
Yeah, he's Stuart Little, but a fucking massive voice. But yeah, anyway, look, that's my point. It was just to bring a bit of perspective that throughout human history, when there's been opulence, there has also been disproportionate suffering. And what's interesting about this is that, again, like the Hunger Games, it took, what's her name, Three Fingers Katniss, it took someone to make, like, the Hunger Games is about a social media revolution.
It is, yeah.
And Gaza in particular is the first social, people gave it a go with was it Uyghur? Uyghur, is that how it's pronounced?
I could be wrong,
camps
but
in
I think
China.
it's Uyghur.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that because obviously I haven't done my research. But
somebody started
that
yapping.
Sorry, yapping without doing your research. That also almost became a social media cause. But Gaza very much is.
Yeah. It's a fascinating moment to watch lifestyles, classes, and disproportionate wealth clash. It's interesting. Just to come back to the Met Gala being a spear point for this. Unfortunately for one social media creator, she made what is possibly the most ill-judged TikTok lip sync of all time.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what this is.
So there's a TikTok creator, by the name of Hailey Bailey. That's her name.
The name rings a bell.
Yeah, you'll see her. She'll pop. You would recognize her if you saw her. She had just crossed 10 million followers on the evening of the Met Gala.
Wow,
significant, huge for a non-celebrity dynasty.
She's not even a Kardashian.
She's not even a Kardashian, exactly. It's good work from her. But anyway, she did a lip sync, Michael, to a quote from the 2004 Marie Antoinette film with Kirsten Dunst.
Oh, no.
And the lip sync was to the phrase, "Let them eat cake."
Oh, no.
And it zoomed out. And Michael, this has infuriated. And it has started a brand new movement called the Great Blocking.
Okay, go on.
And there's a massive counterculture movement now of people posting daily lists of celebrities to block so as not to give them our attention and fund their lifestyles. And it's all come through this woman, Hailey Bailey. She's the unfortunate face of this. She's also made a horrifically tone-deaf apology video that just didn't work. In the grand tradition of celebrity apology videos, just another hit for the fucking collection. But this has been called a few different things, Michael, and in honor of the era from which the quote that Hailey Bailey gave spawned, it's been called the Digital Guillotine, evoking imagery from the French Revolution, where the aristocrats of the French upper class were executed by members of the working classes, famously using the guillotine. And this is called the Digital Guillotine, and it's kind of working. Now, for some of these celebrities, Michael, it's a drop in the ocean. But as of this movement taking off, Kim Kardashian has obviously become one of the big targets of it. And since last week, she has lost 9 million followers.
Drop in the ocean, who cares?
Drop in the ocean for Kim Kardashian, but significant. That's a significant loss of revenue. Now, on the other hand, it's happening to other creators all over the place, and it has apparently got celebrity PR teams in a bit of a tizzy, because it's the first time that there has been a collective anger weaponized by communities.
Hey, but this is the plot from the movie The Hunger Games.
This is the plot from the movie The Hunger Games, Michael. Michael, this event touches on so many literary motifs because the Garden of Time is essentially a much calmer version of The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, you know who made a film of that? Roger Corman.
Roger Corman. Such cyclicality, Michael. The Mask of the Red Death is an altogether more grim affair and a much more supernatural. Not a much more. They're both very supernatural in origin. But in The Mask of the Red Death, Michael, the noble elite are hiding from a plague in their castle. They're having parties every night. It's a bit like Downing Street during the COVID pandemic or fucking The Doll.
Your politics are really showing this week, Ben.
Yeah, fuck them, cunts. But come here. That's interesting. In that, the devil comes to the upper elites and lets himself in the form of a man wearing a mask, a red mask, a hideous red mask. And he is the plague. He's the personification of the plague or the devil or whatever you want to call him. And he comes into their houses and he kills them all. And it's because they are so conceited and so unaware of themselves, you know, completely oblivious to the harm that might come. And it's a fascinating time to watch this happen. I just thought it was so interesting because the Garden of Time is a warning for the upper classes, Michael. J.G. Ballard was by no means a working class man. He was a member of, if not the upper classes, then the middle upper classes.
Go on.
Highly educated, you know, a man of advantage, but a man who also understood that the world was in a constant state of flux and change, and that's what drew him to science fiction. He said that the primary reason he got into science fiction is that science fiction is obsessively focused on change. That's what it does, and he said that's what really drew him into the genre. He was a man very aware of the perceptions, and it was far from his first critique of classism particularly in the United Kingdom, Michael. But you will have seen some of his work. Have you ever seen High Rise?
The one with the rock?
No, High Rise is a pretty seminal work from him, Michael. And it really predicted... High Rise came out in 1975. And it describes the... It's a bit like Lord of the Flies meets American Psycho. That would be a very brief synopsis of what it is, but it describes the descent into savagery of the residents of a luxury apartment building. And it's a metaphor for societal breakdown. Yeah. He predicted the kind of modern high-rise buildings that would take over the London skyline eventually. And he used that as an analogy for class warfare and how everybody was a little bit savage inside. One of his great themes, Michael, was that humanity is not nearly as distant from its animalistic past as it would like to believe.
Very The Purge.
Very The Purge. I think J.G. Ballard probably would have enjoyed The Purge. But High Rise...
The event? The actual thing happening, you mean?
No, the concept.
Oh, the concept. Movie, okay.
J.G. Ballard, Michael, wrote High Rise, and it's been turned into a movie a few times, but the most recent one was with Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, old Tommy H.
Yeah, and essentially what happens is the richer you are, the higher in the high rise you live, and the poorer you are, the lower down you are. Just like normal, yeah. And it is essentially the savage acts that people will commit to maintain their position or to climb the social ladder, or in this case, the high rise.
Just like normal.
It's really interesting. He was particularly obsessed with that. He was also obsessed with quite a few dystopian events. He famously wrote The Drowned World, Michael, which is one of the greatest predictors of climate change anxiety and the collapse of civilization that you could possibly hope to read. It's a really fascinating book.
Ben, I have read that.
The Drowned World.
Yeah, that's the only one I've read. That when you said we're talking about J.G. Ballard, I was like, oh God, am I going to have to read something? And I went, no, I've read that one.
No,
yes.
The Drowned World. Yeah.
What's interesting about The Drowned World, though, Ben, before you gallop on, is...
Steady on, you fuck.
Before you gallop on about London being underwater. What I thought was interesting about The Drowned World was, sure, one of the first efforts in speculative fiction, not dissimilar to, say, Kevin Costner's Waterworld.
Yep.
where the world is underwater and only the poles still have a bit of dry land.
Why does Poland still have dry land?
Not the poles, Ben. The North and South Pole. Not Wojciech. What was I saying before you so rudely interrupted? Oh yeah, the ecological crisis in the drowned world isn't man-made, which is an interesting. That would not be the case if it was written today.
No.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think the sun changes or something unexpectedly.
I think it's the sun.
The sun changes unexpectedly or something. I haven't read in a couple of years. But yeah, it's not a man-made catastrophe. Humans are the innocent victims of it, which very much firmly puts it in the 60s. Because if it was written today, it would be totes my goats our fault. To use an Irish phrase from the 2010s for some reason.
Totes my goats. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But yeah, Ballard ended up being quite prophetic in a lot of his work, which is really surprising. But I think he took a very dystopian... He would kind of purge a lot of his own dystopian thoughts on the world into his novels. He was, by all accounts, quite a pleasant man.
Go on.
That poured a lot of himself into his books. He has a famous series of very twisted books, Michael, that unfortunately happened after the death of his wife.
Oh, go on.
His wife died very suddenly and very tragically of pneumonia and left him with his two daughters, and he was determined to look after his daughters and you know, do his best by them. And yeah, that really did some damage for him, and he created some very sinister, uncomfortable reads as a result of that. High Rise being one of them, and it was kind of the ultimate pouring of his misandry towards the world, his not his misandry, misanthropy, misanthropy towards the world into some novels. He also famously wrote a novel called Crash.
That's where everyone gets a boner from doing car crashes.
Yep, so that's based on a novel by J.G. Ballard, famously, I think won an Oscar, and everybody said, why? Why
because James Spader was in it.
James Spader, good old Jamesy Spades. But yeah, like J.G. Ballard is one of those people, Michael, that he's a bit of a writer's writer. Like he wouldn't be a common name, but he's pretty fucking huge. You know, he's come out with some other stuff. There was some other obviously very twisted things, like the Atrocity Exhibition. That's a very strange experimental novel, and it's a series of linked novels or stories, what he called a condensed novel. And that was all about the celebrity culture, mental illness, and the breakdown of societal norms. So he really was a prophetic man for that kind of thing. And he only passed away relatively recently in the 21st century. He passed away in 2009. That's
incredible, isn't it? Feels like a different era.
Yeah, but it is only relatively recently. But it could be a world away, Michael, at this point. Oh, God, do you remember when life was good? 2009.
2009 was rubbish, Ben. Don't forget, when life was good, it's entirely linked to how old you personally are.
Ladies, tell us, which celebrities will you be blocking? You can get in touch with us in a few different ways. You can find us on the interwebs at www.seomrabeag.com, seomrabeag.com.
Means tiny room in Irish, in a sense.
Sort of, a little bit, maybe. You can find us on Instagram at Your Look, Your Listen Podcast.
You can't get up on there and comment about some small indiscretion Ben has made this week.
Yeah, nothing shortens my lifespan quite as much as the stress of seeing the fucking notification ping for either TikTok or Instagram.
Oh, I love it. It's just filling me with joy.
So if you'd like me to die uncomfortably out of my bed, probably in the middle of my day in the street, give us a comment.
Stress.
You can also find us on TikTok, where you can also add to my workload. That's Your Look, Your Listen. But the best way, ladies and gentlemen, to get in touch with myself or Michael and abuse me directly is to hop up on that Discord, baby.
Hop up on it. It's not moderated. Anyone can join. So anyone who's writing mean comments on the TikToks, you can join the Discord and just lay into bed directly and personally.
Yeah, I'll probably send you a video of me crying, asking you to stop. Not unlike celebrity apology videos. Ladies and gentlemen, you can join us in a week's time, where we'll finally be getting around to I Can Change Him, the bizarre world of Javert apologists from Les Miserables and Snape Wives.
Very good. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up there, I notice you haven't said anything about my display name on the call this week.
Oh, shit. Miguel Christian Slater. Oh, Michael Christian Slater.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's wrong? What happened to Christian Slater?
No, that's a great joke. That is a
Aw.
great joke that is specific only to me. And I'll leave it for you to find out next week.
Fabulous stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye.